The Phoenix Principle: How Black Women Are Turning Rejection into Revolutionary Entrepreneurship. Thank you all for being here today. I'm truly honored to stand before you to share insights that will fundamentally challenge how we think about adversity, opportunity, and the future of American entrepreneurship. Recently, I had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Michelle Marie, whose groundbreaking research has sent shockwaves through the business world. Michelle isn't just documenting trends, she's capturing a revolution in real time. Her meticulous work mapping the unprecedented rise of Black women entrepreneurs has given voice to a movement that most economists and business analysts completely missed. Through her fearless pursuit of truth, Michelle has forced institutions from Wall Street to Washington to reckon with a profound reality. The most innovative business leaders in America today are emerging from the very communities that have been most systematically excluded. What I'm about to share with you today isn't just counterintuitive, it's revolutionary. It will challenge your deepest assumptions about how innovation happens, who drives economic transformation, and what true resilience looks like in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Here's the truth that Michelle's research has uncovered. Despite being the demographic hardest hit by recent job losses, losing over 106,000 positions in April 2025 alone, Black women are simultaneously leading the most significant entrepreneurial renaissance in modern American history. They are now more likely than their male counterparts to start new businesses, fundamentally reshaping what entrepreneurship looks like in this country. Let that sink in for a moment. The very group facing the most significant economic headwinds is driving the most powerful wave of innovation and business creation. This isn't just interesting, it's transformative. It shatters our conventional understanding of how adversity functions in our society and economy. We've been taught that when people face systemic barriers, their options narrow, their opportunities diminish, their potential remains unrealized. But what if the exact opposite can also be true? What if, under certain circumstances, constraints actually become the most powerful catalysts for creativity, determination, and radical self determination? According to Gusto's 2025 New Business Formation Report that Michelle shared with me, nearly half, 49%, of all new businesses started in 2024 were founded by women, with Black women leading this entrepreneurial surge. This represents the highest recorded rate of business formation among Black female founders since data tracking began. Now, I need to be crystal clear about something. I am not, I repeat, not suggesting that discrimination is good. I am not arguing that economic hardship is beneficial. The systemic challenges that disproportionately affect Black women in our economy are deeply unjust and morally indefensible. But what Michelle's research reveals is something far more nuanced and profound: how human potential, creativity, and determination can manifest even in the most hostile environments. How the very forces designed to constrain can sometimes paradoxically become the spark for unprecedented innovation and self creation. Let me tell you about what happened in April 2025. In a single month, over 106,000 jobs held by Black women disappeared, the largest drop for any demographic group, even as national employment grew by thousands of positions. This wasn't random bad luck. Federal rollbacks on diversity initiatives left many Black professional women without the pathways for advancement or even basic job security they had worked relentlessly to establish. But here's where the story takes a turn that no economist predicted. Instead of being crushed by this setback, thousands of these professionals made a radical decision. They refused to beg for seats at tables that didn't value them. They stopped knocking on doors that remained stubbornly closed. Instead, they built their own tables, they constructed their own doors, they launched consulting firms, they created service based startups, they leveraged the very expertise and skills they had developed during their careers to build something new, something they owned and controlled. Take Janelle Washington, a former marketing executive at a Fortune 500 company. After being laid off during these cuts, she didn't just update her resume and start applying for similar positions. Instead, she launched a digital marketing agency specifically designed to serve small businesses in historically underserved communities. Within 6 months, she had hired three other women who had also lost their jobs in the same wave of cuts. Today, her company generates more revenue than her former corporate salary, and she's building wealth that will benefit her family for generations. Or consider the story of Destiny Williams. After losing her position as a human resources director, she created an innovative HR consulting firm that now partners with over 30 small and medium sized businesses. Her company specializes in creating inclusive workplace cultures, the very expertise her former employer discarded. She now employs 5 people, three of whom were also casualties of diversity rollbacks. These aren't isolated success stories. Michele's research documented a 37% increase in business registrations among recently unemployed Black professional women throughout mid 2025. This represents thousands of new ventures, each one a declaration of economic independence and creative determination. This pattern fundamentally challenges our conventional wisdom about economic resilience. It suggests that sometimes when traditional doors close, people don't just find windows, they build entirely new structures, ones that may ultimately prove more stable, more fulfilling, and more aligned with their deepest values and purposes. Now, I want to be extremely careful here. There's a pernicious narrative in our culture that glorifies struggle and hardship as necessary ingredients for success. That's not what I'm advocating. The systemic barriers that make entrepreneurship more difficult for Black women are real, unjust, and should be dismantled. Full stop. But while we work toward that more equitable future, there's something profoundly important we can learn from how these women are navigating the present. Michele's research shows that these entrepreneurs are succeeding not by mimicking traditional business models, but by fundamentally reimagining them. They're leveraging networks within their communities that conventional business education often overlooks. They're focusing on industries where they can make immediate impact, particularly in community services and personal assistance sectors. And perhaps most importantly, they're supporting each other in ways that challenge the hyper individualistic mythology of American entrepreneurship. This last point is crucial because access to funding remains one of the most significant barriers these entrepreneurs face. Despite representing an increasing proportion of startup founders nationwide, female only teams receive just 2.3% of total venture capital funding, a mere $6.7 billion in early stage rounds during 2024 to 25. Think about that disparity for a moment. Women are starting nearly half of all new businesses, but receiving just over 2% of the investment capital. This isn't just unfair, it's economically irrational. It represents a massive failure of our financial systems to allocate resources to where innovation is actually happening. But again, the response to this challenge has been remarkable. Female founders have formed collaborative collectives focused on mutual support, sharing grant information, pooling marketing budgets, and turning toward alternative financing, like crowdfunding platforms specifically designed for underrepresented entrepreneurs. Take the Black Women's Business Collective in Atlanta. Founded by five entrepreneurs who were repeatedly denied traditional bank loans, they created a rotating savings and credit association that has now helped fund the launch of over 75 businesses. Members contribute monthly, and each month one woman receives the full pool to invest in her business. The repayment rate is 98%, higher than many traditional bank loans. Or consider the Resilience Fund in Chicago, started by three former corporate executives who were laid off in the same month. They pooled their severance packages to create a micro investment fund specifically for Black women entrepreneurs. They've now funded 28 startups with an impressive 89% still operating after 2 years, far exceeding national averages for new business survival. These women aren't just building businesses, they're creating entirely new financial infrastructures when the existing ones failed them. Their tenacity is shifting industry norms around what success looks like and proving that collective action can partially offset institutional barriers until broader reforms take hold. What Michelle Marie's research reveals is that we're witnessing something far more profound than just an increase in business registrations. We're seeing the emergence of a fundamentally different model of entrepreneurship, one that values community over competition, collaboration over isolation, and purpose alongside profit. This shift matters for all of us, regardless of gender or racial identity. Because the truth is, our traditional models of business success were designed during a time when only a narrow segment of the population had access to entrepreneurial opportunities. As more diverse founders enter the ecosystem, they bring with them new perspectives, new approaches, and new solutions to problems that have gone unaddressed for generations. The rise of Black women entrepreneurs isn't just changing who owns businesses in America, it's changing how business itself functions. And that transformation has profound implications for everyone. I want to address something important. When we talk about resilience and adaptability in the face of systemic challenges, there's a risk of inadvertently placing the burden of change on those who are already carrying the heaviest loads. So let me be crystal clear. The responsibility for creating a more equitable economic system doesn't rest with those who have been marginalized by it. It rests with all of us. The women in Michelle's research aren't succeeding because the system is working. They're succeeding despite the fact that it isn't. Imagine what they could accomplish if they had equal access to capital, mentorship, and opportunity. Imagine the innovations, the jobs, the wealth that could be created if these entrepreneurs received investment proportional to their numbers. That's the future we should be working toward, not one where resilience in the face of discrimination is necessary, but one where such discrimination doesn't exist in the first place. But until we reach that future, there's something powerful we can learn from these entrepreneurs. They remind us that our circumstances, however challenging, don't define our possibilities. That sometimes the very obstacles placed in our path can become the foundation for something new and unexpected. As Michelle so powerfully stated, these women aren't just building businesses, they're building legacies. They're creating pathways not just for themselves, but for their communities and for future generations. I stand before you today with an urgent call. We must fundamentally reimagine what entrepreneurship looks like in America. We must dismantle the systems that allocate 97.7% of venture capital to men while women start nearly half of all new businesses. We must recognize that the most powerful innovations often emerge not from privilege, but from necessity. The phoenix rising from the ashes isn't just a myth, it's happening right now in communities across America. Black women entrepreneurs are showing us that sometimes when everything is taken away, what remains is the most powerful force on earth: the human capacity to create, to innovate, and to transform limitation into possibility. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue to invest in the same founders, the same ideas, the same models that have dominated for decades? Or will you have the courage to look where others aren't looking, to fund those others aren't funding, to believe in the potential that others have overlooked? The next billion-dollar company, the next world changing innovation, the next economic revolution is already being built. Not in Silicon Valley garages or Ivy League dorm rooms, but in the communities most analysts have written off. The only question is, will you recognize it before everyone else does? The future belongs to those who can see potential where others see only problems. It belongs to those who understand that the most powerful ideas often emerge not from comfort, but from constraint, not from ease, but from necessity. The rise of Black women entrepreneurs isn't just changing business, it's changing what's possible. And that changes everything for all of us. Thank you.